Well, blessings, everybody, and welcome back to our study, Understanding the Anger of God. This is the beginning of Lesson 6, the last lesson in this study. And I thought it would be good for us to do a little bit of a course review here for about 2 or 3 minutes, just to see and remind ourselves that which we've learned. Remember, when we studied the book of Micah, that God gave him 3 messages about Samaria and Jerusalem becoming heaps of ruins. The focus was on Jerusalem. He spoke of God's promise of restoration after judgment. In Nahum, the message was about the fall of Nineveh, that Nineveh was suffering an incurable wound and complete destruction was in store. And this actually happened when the Babylonians destroyed them in 612 BC. Now in Habakkuk, we see a recording of a very personal conversation between the prophet and God. But the vision was also to be written for all to read. And it was a vision, it was an understanding of judgment that was coming against God's people. But he also gave them hope. The Lord gave hope through the prophet. And we see this in all 3 of these, God's justice and faithfulness in all 3 of these books. Now remember what was going on with Habakkuk. He'd asked the Lord, how long is this going to occur? Why is it that you've done nothing about this wickedness? And he's talking about the wickedness of Judah, about the wickedness of the people. And he said, they've ignored your law. Justice has been perverted. Micah had said the same thing some 80 years earlier. But we see the same response. They were to speak forth the word, and they were to watch, and they were to wait upon the Lord. And so we see some things right here. We see God's justice in Nahum, okay? Because remember when God had sent Jonah to Nineveh to warn of impending judgment, okay? They were wicked. And Jonah went in and just warned that 3 days' time you're going to be destroyed. Well, Nineveh repented, and because of that, God relented. Now it's about 160 years later. Nineveh has relented of their repentance. In other words, they had become even more evil, and God overthrew them. Nahum's prophecy, the word of the Lord, came to pass. Even though the Lord had relented, when they turned back to their way, the Lord brought forth his word. So here's what we see. God keeps his words. He is just, and he must judge sin. God used Babylon against Syria. Later on, God would judge Babylon because of what they did to his people when he used them against his people. We'll see that down the road, okay? God told Habakkuk that he was doing something. But if Habakkuk even knew about it, there's no way he'd believe that. Remember that? And what that was that he was raising up the Chaldeans. So here's what Habakkuk knows, what we've learned at this point in time. He understood that God is from everlasting. He knew that he could trust in what God said. He lived by faith. Remember when we saw that 3 times in the New Testament, that portion of Habakkuk 2 was mentioned. He knew that he did not have God's total perspective. He would watch, he would listen for God's reproof. And I think that would be a very wise thing for us to do, so may we do likewise. Again, I'm Dale from the Precept classes in Cullman, Alabama, and I thank you for being with me. I'll see you again next time.